Now, why it is becoming complex? Because the perceptual environment. Which ultimately leads to what you call a perceived notion, and that affects the behavior of human. Right? Now, for example, that's what we have taken distance example, right? For the physical distance is same, but the perception will be different. Let's say suppose the present day temperature, आज के दिन का दिल्ली का temperature, it's perfectly normal for us because we are used to it. Imagine an African coming to Delhi. My God, it's damn cold. It's bitter cold. मर जाऊंगा मैं तो यहाँ अगर 10 दिन रह जाऊंगा. नहीं? Imagine a European coming to this. बल्ले बल्ले उनके तो. Right? Because they are used to much colder climate. So they will be feeling great about it. My God, wow, sun है पूरा खुला हुआ. We can have sun bath and all. Physical reality is same. Whatever temperature right now we have 15-17 degrees Celsius, but look at the perception and how it is different. Right? So this perceptual behavior is what you call, that forms what you call mental map. And mental map is very, very important in man-environment relationship. अल्टीमेटली जब भी आप आंसर लिखेंगे इस एरिया में इस टर्म को जरूर आप लाएंगे, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग वट एवर वी आर डूइंग एज अ जोग्राफर, इट इज बेसिकली वी आर ट्राइंग टू सिंप्लीफाई द कम्प्लेक्स रियलिटी ऑफ मैन एनवायरमेंट रिलेशनशिप. Now in the process of simplification, some might have more simplified, some might have more generalized it, and some might have made it more complex. When we talk about climatic classification, Köppen is relatively general one. The moment you go to Tonpet, it is relatively much more complex. Right? One may have genetic basis, one may have empirical basis. Right? So that's how mental map. Now if you look at mental map, इमेजिन करो तुम खुद अपने बारे में कभी भी इस तरह से सोचोगे. द बेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ ज्योग्राफी इज दैट यू कैन बी वेरी क्रिएटिव इन योर राइटिंग, और वहां पे एग्जामिनर को ऐसी चीजें दे दो एंड टेल देम थ्रू योर राइटिंग दैट लुक आई हैव द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कैपेबिलिटी. अब मेंटल मैप उठा करके मैप भी डाल दिए और वही जो 4 लाइन लिखा हुआ आसपास में बुक में वही डाल दिए, वो 10 में से 2 नंबर से ज्यादा नहीं देगा. वो भी बहुत तकलीफ से, बहुत अच्छी राइटिंग मैप कर दिया तो 3 नंबर दे देगा. वो कभी नहीं देगा, बिकॉज दे आर नॉट सर्चिंग फॉर एकेडमिशियन, दे आर नॉट सर्चिंग फॉर रिप्रोड्यूसर्स, दे आर सर्चिंग फॉर दोज हु कैन क्रिएट थिंग्स, हु कैन बी अ पार्ट ऑफ द पॉलिसी मेकिंग, who are supposed to deal with the facts but not be dependent on it, who are supposed to utilize those facts, and that facts will be the basis, but ultimately your decision will be totally different, because फिर वो क्लर्क को ढूंढ लेगा. वो क्लर्क के पास सबसे ज्यादा फैक्ट्स होता है क्योंकि उनका काम ही है कलेक्शन. इसीलिए आपको बहुत सारे सबऑर्डिनेट्स दिए जाएंगे. The subordinates, the general duty of the subordinates would be to provide you informations, all the factual information, all the data you want, all kind of descriptive information you want. This will be morning में आप कहो शाम तक आपके पास पहुंचा रहेगा. उस डेटा के ऊपर आपको काम करना है. So book is basically a data, syllabus is basically a data. How you can be forming an answer and writing an answer, and what examiner would be searching from you is to deal with that data. How you are dealing with that data, that's what you call creativity. कि क्रिएटिव आंसर होना चाहिए. क्रिएटिव आंसर क्या होना चाहिए? अब ज्योग्राफी में कोई नई थ्योरी तो तुम नहीं निकाल दोगे, लेकिन थ्योरी की कितनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है एंड द वे यू प्रेजेंट दैट, इट शुड लुक यस ही और शी इज द पर्सन. सो मेंटल मैप. अब जैसे सपोज करो हमारा मेंटल मैप किसी भी चीज के बारे में, जैसे अभी तुमने बताया एक चीज कि रिलीजन, दैट इज द मेंटल मैप. अब वो मेंटल मैप कहीं ना कहीं से इन्फ्लुएंस होगा. एक पर्सनल स्पेस होता है एंड पर्सनल स्पेस के बियॉन्ड फिर इन्फ्लुएंस होता है. So what are the factors which influence our decision making process, which ultimately affects our behavior? जैसे सपोज करो कि आमतौर पे ट्रॉपिकल रीजन के पीपल विल बी वेरी रिएक्टिव, नहीं रिएक्टिव. दोस्त में कोई सुबह सुबह मिल गया या शाम में अचानक मिला, बोला आज बहुत अच्छे लग रहे हो तुम. हमारा जनरल रिस्पॉन्स क्या होता है? सुबह से कोई मिला नहीं क्या? वाई? बिकॉज यू टेक दैट फ्रेंड्स इन दैट मैनर कि कब खिंचाई कर देगा मेरी, कोई ठिकाना नहीं इसका, और ये मतलब मजाक करने के लिए बोला हो सकता है. दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन रिलेशनशिप. अगर बहुत फॉर्मल रिलेशनशिप है, वो तारीफ कर दिया तो यू विल गेट आउट ऑफ के थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू मैडम, गो अवे. बहुत ज्यादा सीरियसली लोगे नहीं लोगे, डिपेंड करेगा अगेन कि फ्यूचर में कितना काम है उस बंदे से. सो वो मेंटल मैप किस चीज से इन्फ्लुएंस होता है? वो मेंटल मैप अल्टीमेटली मैन एनवायरमेंट रिलेशन को बहुत ही सॉलिडली इफेक्ट करता है, जिसको हम कई बार स्ट्रक्चर्ड ओपिनियन कहते हैं. And when you are talking about that, you are supposed to give example about the exaggerated version of reality. जैसे सपोज कीजिए, एक बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल है, आप निर्भय कांड. निर्भय कांड obviously the worst thing you can imagine in life. There are several निर्भयs which are still being done, not only in India and all over the world. ऐसा थोड़ी कि सिर्फ इंडिया में होता है. Why that has been highlighted up to the extent, and what is the negative consequence of it? That a structure is being built about a country, that this is the country of the rapist, right? The moment any foreign tourist or foreign investors or foreign companies or whatever wants to come to India, this will be a point in their mind. ऐसा तो नहीं कि दिल्ली में हजारों लड़कियां रहती हैं, राइट? इंडिया में मतलब उस तरह से इतना भी बुरे हम लोग नहीं है कि अगर देखा जाए कि जो भी आएगा उसका रेप ही हो जाएगा. But if you go in the especially developed world, there will be a factor, this will be a factor in them, in their mind while choosing their tourist destination. India मत जाना, और खास करके अकेले तो मत ही जाना, kind of thing. They give instructions. So structured opinion. Now you cannot get carried away by structured opinion. The moment you are getting carried away, your answer will be very shallow. You will have to create your own. You will have to reach beyond that. You will have to move into the root cause of it. You will have to form the rational basis for whatever answer you are writing, whatever decision you have taken about an answer. Right? So what is the mental map? That is basically the perceived idea of a reality, which is a package formed by several factors. It is this mental map through which humans see and react to the environmental or physical reality. One of the most important aspect of man-environment relationship. अब यहीं से अगर तुम प्रेशर ग्रुप्स की बात कर दो, यहाँ पे यहीं से आप ग्रीन पीस की बात कर दें, एनवायरमेंटलिज्म की बात कर दें, एनवायरमेंटल हिस्ट्री की बात करें, हिस्ट्री ऑफ द एनवायरमेंटल रिवोल्यूशन की बात करें. सपोज वी आर थ्रेटेंड सो बैडली कि दिल्ली में निकलोगे तो पोल्यूशन से मर जाओगे, तो क्या होंगे बाहर के लोग? अगर उनके पास एक भी चॉइस हो, दे विल नॉट प्रेफर टू कम टू दिल्ली. दिल्ली में 3-4 इंसिडेंट्स ऐसे हो जाएंगे कि the older lady or the older man might be staying alone in his or her own house and they have been killed or looted. तो आपको अगर दिल्ली और बेंगलोर के बारे में 2 चॉइस दिया जाएगा, you will prefer Bangalore. right? So that mental map. What is the problem of mental map? What is the advantage and disadvantage of mental map?
Mental map advantage can be
Forget about it. First you learn what are the factors which affect mental map. Mental map, first and the foremost thing is the personal space. Is your own personal space. Right? That is the individual. Then you have several factors might be influencing. The nearest surrounding, that takes to relatives and friends. Right? Then the recreational aspects. खुश हो तो सारी चीजें दुनिया में बहुत अच्छी लगती हैं, जिस दिन मूड खराब हो हर अच्छी चीज भी बुरी लगती है. Right? Recreational aspect. Then you have films. Then you have media. In media itself you have print media, electronic media, etc. Right? Then you go far off places. Right? So interaction. That is level of interaction with the different society. Right? Then outsiders coming to your place, and then your interaction. Technological development and access to it, level of access. Then active pressure groups. राइट? अभी पिज्जा और बर्गर हमें अच्छा लगता है, मतलब वर्ल्ड ओवर की बात कर रहे हैं. हो सकता है कल को नूडल्स बहुत ज्यादा अच्छा लगने लगे. मतलब ग्रेजुअली पिज्जा इज बीइंग स्विच्ड ओवर. तुम लोगों को पता भी नहीं, अगर तुम खुद को एहसास दिलाओ, इफ यू जस्ट बिकम अ वेरी सेंसिटिव एंड रिकॉल योर ओन अपब्रिंगिंग, योर ओन ग्रोइंग एज. नाउ इट इज, हम लोग बचपन में नूडल्स का नाम भी नहीं जानते थे उस तरह से, बड़े हुए तो पिज्जा बर्गर जानने लगे. अब नूडल्स भी बहुत अच्छे, चाइनीज में चाइनीज है बहुत अच्छा. आई लाइक चाइनीज वेरी मच. यू आर फोर्स्ड टू लाइक चाइनीज वेरी मच एंड यू विल बी फोर्स्ड ग्रेजुअली मोर टू लाइक चाइनीज वेरी मच. अब जैसे एक डाइटरी हैबिट होती है. अब कबाब की बात करें तो कबाब एक है. अब चिकन कबाब हो सकता है, मटन. वेज कबाब क्या होता है यार? आलू की टिक्की को वेज कबाब बोलने लगते हैं. दैट इन्फ्लुएंस. Now, the moment you have pizza and burger, then thereafter might be noodles. Thereafter might be African dietary habits. It depends upon the influence. That's how the pressure groups works. The way, if the economically well-off becomes an undeclared model, and the moment it becomes undeclared model, the people try to adopt it. So that's how the several factors which affect the mental map, and that mental map has its own influence over environmental aspect. Right? अब climate की ही बात कर लीजिए, global warming. Now that mental map, the worst problem is that may be structured one. That's the biggest problem. Yes, maybe far from reality. May be created to manipulate things. things of real life.
So, in forming this mental map, will not be the enabling environment be an influencing factor like politics of the country?
Obviously, that's why everything become a part of geography.
So this mental map can act as a positive as well as a
Yes, definitely. It is a positive also when you learn, like when you interact, you become more dynamic. But when you mislearn, then that become equally deadly. Right, जैसे एक बहुत सिंपल क्वेश्चन मैं अक्सर क्लास में पूछता हूँ, आज स्पेशली वो कई बार मैं पूछ भी चुका हूँगा, किसी न किसी को कहीं पता होगा, मुझसे इंटरव्यू में क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था कि इन जनरल मुस्लिम्स हैव मोर नंबर ऑफ चिल्ड्रन इन इंडिया. Do you agree with this statement? If yes, what are the reasons? Over to you, Mahima. And please feel free to speak your mind.
Could you please repeat the question?
In general, Muslims in India have more number of children. Do you agree with this statement? If yes, what are the reasons?
Sir, I
Okay.
actually I agree with you, sir. It is a historical aspect, sir. Not the modern concept, but it is a historical aspect where Muslims were forced to produce more number of the population in order to defend themselves and defend their religion in the Middle East. And the trend has been continued in India also.
Okay, that's one opinion. Good, go ahead.
I don't have facts and figures to my country.
Sorry?
I don't have facts and figures to my country.
No, that's the fact also. Like if you look at this Sikh community, the birth rate is highest among Muslims and Sikhs. And it is slightly higher in Sikh community, but they are highest in Muslims.
I see the economic aspect is more dominating in this thing.
Sir, I
The
think
Muslims who are well off, they are comparable to the general public.
Yeah.
So I think there is a more political link up to this question. Because Muslims are generally considered minority in the country, and being a minority, there is a peer psychosis in the minority. That if you perceive the present scenario in the democracy, it is considered that majority rules.
Look at here, when we talk about a particular prospect, a particular aspect which is much, much broader, it can't be an outcome of 2 years, 5 years or 10 years. It has to have its history of, let's say, 50 years or 100 years.
But if we see our scenario, if we see particularly to the Indian context, then we see that, especially after the partition of our country, there is a more different, there is a kind of polarization in our country, and that is very much visible in the different communities also. And
My question is, Muslims have more number of children. Do you agree with the statement? Obviously the question is yes. In general, average number of children is more with Muslims. What are the reasons?
the reason is they want to be more assertive in their politics. They want, through politics, they want to be more clearly visible or more assertive.
इनफैक्ट यू कह लो ना कितना बच्चा पैदा कर लो कि इंडिया में अपनी हुकूमत हो जाए, हिंदुओं को यहाँ से भगा दो.
This is the
Kind of attitude.
This is the ground here.
No, you speak out. That's why don't hesitate, please, because my name is Shamim Anwer. Speak out your mind. Only then that can be the discourse can be done, and then you can have the cleaning of that.
So that is what the people. That is where the politics. That's how the politics play in our country.
You are not supposed to take on or take things from what politicians have said. That's why you are different.
The second thing is the socio-economic condition is different. And so they are very generally they have very socio-economic
Good,
conditions.
good.
So their level of mental perception of things or education is not there. And third one is if you see from your geographical perspective also they are very they are very far placed situated from the region. Even in a city also, the place where they reside is very far from the main CBD.
No, I live in the very heart of the Delhi.
Sir, it is not about you, but
No, that's what I'm saying. The general perception should not be a specialized one. Yes, now I hope you can make your opinion. You can pass your remark.
Like I was saying Asian countries are there. I think population is not that much there.
West Asian countries, yeah, they are very high. Population growth is very high.
Really?
Yes, it is.
So population has got nothing to do with the religion itself.
That's the aspect. Like talking about the political aspect, or the yeah. Come.
Okay, like Hindu code bill was
Passed.
enacted for all the other religions, but Muslims are guided by the personal laws.
Mhm.
So that basically guides. So earlier population this birth rate was equivalent to Hindus. Hindu Muslims were equivalent, I think, because in Hinduism also polygamy and other things were practiced. But after Hindu code bill was enacted, these instances have reduced. And
Reduced, not eliminated. I hope you have used very good word, that reduced.
yeah,
Yes.
but in Muslims it's guided by the personal laws, where it's still which is still rooted in its traditional things.
Mhm.
So I think that maybe the reason. Hindu code bill is not applied to everybody else.
No, it's not about code and laws. Laws are meant for deterrence. And that's when you talk about the Hindu code bill, that is a civil law. Right? You can't marry. So I will not marry, but I can have 3 wives. There are so many examples. I can give you several examples. I know people. They have not married yet, they have wives. Right? So that's what I'm saying. As an intellectual, as a would-be IAS officer, your opinion should be based on reasons, should be based on experience, should be based on your learning capacity. That reflects your level of understanding, that reflects your mental capacity. If you look at the downtrodden section of the society across the religion, and all of you have seen, that's the best part of it. Yes, across the religion. Now you are not relying or believing your own experience, what you have seen. That means वहाँ पे वो क्वेश्चन मार्क डाल देगा एग्जामिनर आपको, वुड बी एस ऑफिसर कैपेबिलिटी पे, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कैपेबिलिटी पे आपके क्वेश्चन मार्क डाल देगा. क्योंकि you must have seen several people across the religion, whether Hindus, whether Sikh, whether Christian, whether Muslims, if they are coming from downtrodden section of the society, they will be having large number of children. You ask your father, or maybe grandfather, or maybe father of grandfather, if you are coming from a very affluent background right now, they must be having higher number of children. So it is purely associated with socio-economic condition. Now you are getting carried away by a structured opinion, which you cannot afford, which an IAS officer, which an intellectual group like you cannot afford. Leave it for the politicians, leave it for the जो so called intellectuals होते हैं, लेकिन actually वो होते नहीं हैं. They try to be assertive. You are supposed to be rational, and you can't represent a particular community, you can't represent a particular region, you can't represent a particular language. Right? You are the citizen of this country, and if you are not, then who will be? The question is this. So your opinion, your judgment should not be get carried away by the structured opinion.
Their level of education is also very low, so they are being exploited by the
Yes, definitely there, because primarily because of socio-economic condition. If the socio-economic condition of any community, any region is relatively poor, they will have more number of children.
Because their education level is so low, so they are very much vulnerable to politically exploited by
Yeah, that's true.
that was
This like political exploitation is different word. Political exploitation does not necessarily mean बीजेपी वाला, वो वैसी भी करते हैं खूब बढ़िया से politician. उसके जैसे बड़ी बड़ी दाढ़ी रखने वाले भी इमाम को देख लीजिए पास कर देंगे, वो कोई सुने या नहीं सुने, लेकिन उनको पता है कि मेरा जो पॉलिटिकल सर्किल है अपना, वहां पे तो एक वैल्यू रहेगी ना. उनसे 50 करोड़ रुपए ले लिए, उनके साथ फतवा इशू कर दिए. So they are vulnerable, and they are vulnerable across the religion. It's not only Muslims. Every society is vulnerable depending upon that. तो जो स्ट्रक्चर्ड ओपिनियन, जब हम मेंटल मैप की बात करते हैं, तो मेंटल मैप जो होता है ये एक पॉजिटिव भी होता है, एक नेगेटिव भी होता है, डिपेंड्स अपॉन योर लेवल ऑफ फिल्टरिंग कैपेसिटी. राइट? द कैपेसिटी टू फिल्टर इंफॉर्मेशन. What is the level of your intellect capacity, your surroundings, your upbringing, that is primarily determined by personal space and this aspect. That's what you call upbringing. And then when you interact, what is the level of your this introvertness or extrovertness? If you are very extrovert, then in all likelihood you will be having much greater filtering capacity as compared to others, or you will be least bothered about it. The best part is that if you look at western states and eastern states of our country, the primary difference, not the only again, for the difference in their development is the level of interaction in the historical past. All the developed countries, whether it is Europe, whether it is medieval period where Arabs have dominated as a developed, all have interacted with them on a regular interval basis. Whether it is Britishers, again they came first from western side. So western coast people have interacted more and more with the rest of the world. It's not that they were superior. It's basically the moment you interact, you learn and you teach both. And that again you are forced to learn, or you are, for example, if I am going to Europe to learn, or somebody is coming to teach me indirectly. So the moment your level of interaction is far, far higher, the society will become more dynamic. And a society which is dynamic will always be more productive. And society which is more productive will always be more balanced, far, far better as compared to the one which is introvert, conservative. जैसे कुएं का मेंढक, एक बहुत पुराना मुहावरा है ना हमारे यहाँ, कुएं का मेंढक, तो उसको लगता है कि दुनिया इतनी सी है, और उसको लगेगा कि हम ही सुपीरियर है. The same goes for any introvert society. They'll always feel being proud of this thing, being proud of that thing, जबकि सच्चाई है पर कुछ contribution नहीं है उसमें, फिर भी you still feel proud of some small things, right? So that mental map affects a lot the environmental perception and man-environment relationship, and that mental map is generally created nowadays very often to serve the geopolitical interest of a particular force. अब उसको global perspective में भी आप देख सकते हैं. इसमें दोनों पॉजिटिव भी है, नेगेटिव भी है. पॉजिटिव भी है, ग्रोथ एंड डेवलपमेंट की बात होती है. सो ऑब्वियसली यू कैन टॉक अबाउट द डायनामिज्म, you can talk about the growth of civilization through a lot of interaction, exchange of ideas, exchange of innovations, diffusion of innovations, that has led to growth and development. Then if you see technological efficiency, that most of the world's, those who are discoverers and those who have invented instruments but are being utilized by several other societies, that has improved technological efficiency, that have improved knowledge power, right? और इसी के negative consequences भी हैं, which has been misused at several occasions, like role of the mental map, historical perspective अगर देखा जाए, sea change, right? Why? Because of access to different world. Now we are talking about in the ancient times, obviously relatively least developed, which is there in the tribal society, both positive as well as negative consequences. So mental map in tribal society is very obsolete in terms of human civilization. So that has both positive as well as negative impact. Negative impact of a tribal society, you can write an essay. What are the positive impact? Sorry? Egalitarian, beautiful. A balanced, a much more harmonious relation with nature, much more sustainable, very. So you can talk about that, right? And then present society, if you look at the present society, when we talk about the term, you can use global village itself. When you are talking about globalization, or global world has become a global village. What do we mean by that?
Why village?
Why village?
Why not city?
Why not city? Urban and rural geography dualism. Why not city? Why village? You all have the answer. Please try to introspect more. Please try to brainstorm a lot. वो आपकी प्रोडक्टिविटी को हाईएस्ट लेवल पे ले जाएगा. कई बार ना हम इजी वे ढूंढते हैं, तो आप अपने पोटेंशियल के हिसाब से आप मार्क्स नहीं ला पाओगे. बी केयरफुल अबाउट इट. जस्ट थिंक अबाउट. ए क्वेश्चन हैज कम बिफोर यू. व्हाई ग्लोबल विलेज? व्हाई नॉट ग्लोबल सिटी?
Village is more heterogeneous. It has field and people from different caste and people build area, unbuilt areas. So a world is like village means it will have forests, it will have cities. So in that cities generally have compact sections.
Compact section.
Generally, village gives us an idea of being very inclusive.
Exactly. Exactly. And village is more compact, more knit, more close.
More harmonious.
Is harmonious and very like have homogeneity, much greater homogeneity. So when you learn about, let's say suppose whatever you want to learn, you have on internet. एक बार क्लिक करो, बहुत सारी चीजें पता चल जाएंगी. टूरिस्ट डेस्टिनेशन है तो विच आर द बेस्ट डेस्टिनेशन. सो वही थी विलेज में, तो एक्सेसिबिलिटी इज हाईएस्ट इन विलेज, not in terms of physical distance but also in terms of human distance, right? That's why global village. आप शहरों में एक सिंपल से एग्जांपल है कि 4th फ्लोर पे रह रहे हो, 3rd फ्लोर पे शादी होगी, आप भूखे मर जाओगे, वहां पे 50 प्लेट खाना फेंका चला जाएगा. गांव में ये चीज नहीं होगी. तो they're close knit, they're well integrated as compared to the city. That's why global village, right? So when we are talking about global village, the mental map in the historical evolution has experienced a sea change, which was very limited to the native area, to the nearest place, or the capacity of human travel distance on foot, to has become the internet speed, or the more than the speed of even sound, right? The possibility of reaching information, which has both positive as well as negative consequences, has transformed the mental map. And that's why if you look at the mental map versus environmental degradation, it has created a sea change, right? Gradually, with the technological evolution, the humans have reached at a level where they can destroy the whole earth itself in one go. नहीं, एक न्यूक्लियर बम छोड़ दीजिए 4-5 बढ़िया सा, अर्थ डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगी. सो अब उसके नेगेटिव है बट बहुत पॉजिटिव कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस भी हैं. पॉजिटिव कॉन्सिक्वेंस जिसे कई बार क्या होता है ना, मैन को हम सिर्फ डिस्ट्रॉयर दिखाते हैं. एज ए जोग्राफर यू कैन शो एज ए क्रिएटर ऑल्सो, एज ए सेवर ऑल्सो. हम पेड़ को उजाड़ सकते हैं, जला सकते हैं, तो पेड़ लगा भी सकते हैं, right? We can destroy ozone hole, so we can take measures to protect it as well. So जब भी लिखो man environment relationship में, both sides of man you should show, as a destroyer, as a protector. Earlier we were a destroyer, now we are trying to protect it. There are several. अब उस protection के चक्कर में एक mental map कई बार होता है जिसका misuse of mental map, जिसे global warming, right? So global warming, a myth or reality, is a different subject, right? The way it is perceived is a different subject. The way it is presented is a different subject. Getting my point? So that ultimately has its root in economy. For example, I'm not going into the myth and reality, that is again debatable, but if you look at the general aspect है कि in the history of the evolution of earth, the temperature has gone up and down. Everybody knows that last glacial age was 10,000 years back, that is Pleistocene glacial period, and thereafter the temperature is increasing, right? And this is global warming period, so there is a temperature decreasing, so before that there must be temperature increasing. So history of earth has itself seen ups and downs in the growth and high and low temperature. When the temperature is supposedly the highest, we call it global warming. When it is lowest, we call it global cooling or ice age. Right? Now, the way it is being projected that it is the carbon emission which is creating all these problems, ignoring all the other factors, or at least not giving enough space to other possible areas. So a mental map is being created कि भाई आप जो दिवाली में पटाखे फोड़ रहे हो इसी की वजह से ग्लोबल वार्मिंग आ रही है, जबकि सच्चाई इससे हजारों कोस दूर है. लेकिन एक मेंटल मैप सोसाइटी में, एंड एवरीबडी डजंट हैव द कैपेसिटी टू फिल्टर इट आउट. Everybody doesn't have time to filter it out if they have capacity. एक तो कैपेसिटी बहुत कम लोगों की हो जाएगी, उस जितने लोगों की कैपेसिटी होगी उसमें फिल्टर करने के लिए टाइम बहुत कम लोगों को बजाए. जितने लोग फिल्टर भी कर जाएंगे उसको पास ऑन करने के लिए टाइम नहीं रहेगा. तो जो आपको स्प्रेड कर दिया जाता है, एक डीडीसी अपने डीडीटी छिड़क दिया गया, आप मरते रहिए. राइट? सो दैट वेज मेंटल मैप, द वे इट इज बीइंग क्रिएटेड, that's what you call a structured opinion also, is definitely a kind of the, again comes into geopolitics, resource richness, the capacity to mold the world opinion, capacity to affect the world opinion. So there is again only a few hands at the highest possible level sitting are enjoying the greatest resources. अब कार्बन इमिशन का मतलब क्या हुआ? आप कार्बन इमिशन स्टॉप कीजिए, इसका एक्चुअल मतलब क्या है? दैट इज ऑर्नामेंटल वर्ड है, स्टॉप कार्बन इमिशन. द एक्चुअल मतलब क्या है? स्टॉप इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन. Stop industrialization to whom? Developing countries and underdeveloped countries. If you are stopping industrialization, this will means you will have higher dependency on us. So if you are having higher dependency on us, I can mold your resource direction, the direction of the resource flow, the direction of your input and output, the direction of your import and export. So let me having all the knowledge, I cannot pass it to you, but you can't have geography knowledge because तुमको geography knowledge होगा, तुमको खतरा हो जाएगा, अस्थमा हो जाएगा. ये आप propagate कर रहे हैं, ये mental map कर रहे हैं. So that is the negative use of mental map. एक individual level पे mental map है, एक regional level पे, एक societal level पे, global level पे. तो इसके different level पे ला करके आप mental map की भी बात कर सकते हैं. And the behavior of human with respect to environment or physical reality is determined by mental map. Right? If you look at human geography, here we will be starting with perspective. It is branches into two groups: social geography and economic geography. Social geography is more about population, settlement, etc. Economic is all those activities: industrial, agriculture, transport, etc. Social geography, the way we live, the way we make our living. Now, our effort should always be to bring physical into human, human into physical, social into economic, and economic into social. That's the difference in academic writing and would-be IAS officer writing. We should always try to integrate things to present the reality of a picture or reality of an area, so that your administrative capability is reflected through your writing. Every social issue has its root cause in economy and vice versa. Right? माँ बाप बच्चे को पढ़ने नहीं भेज करके चाय की दुकान पर भेज देते हैं. Do you think it is a deliberate? No. It has issue with economy. आपको वाकई चाइल्ड लेबर नहीं चाहिए, पैसा दे दीजिए बेचारे लोगों को. जिस तरह से आप अपने यहाँ अमेरिका में आप अपने अनएम्प्लॉयड लोगों को एक पेंशन देते हैं, प्लीज प्रोवाइड अस, नोबडी विल सेंड चिल्ड्रन. अगर उसके बाद भेजता है तो उसको जेल में 50 साल के लिए बंद कर दीजिए, कोई नहीं भेजेगा. डू यू एक्सपेक्ट एनी पेरेंट्स? There are exceptions always, but do you expect any parent to send their children to child habas or any industrial activities if they can sufficiently feed them? Can they properly feed them and properly get them educated? So if the children are not going to school, is it the problem of the parents or is the problem of the government? अभी देख लो आप enrollment ratio बढ़ रहा है, अभी देख लो आप stay ratio बढ़ रहा है, right? Schools we are providing, schools at the nearest doorstep. जब से एजुकेशन फंडामेंटल राइट्स हुआ है, आपका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बढ़ रहा है, मिड डे मील स्कीम है, यू आर लीवरिंग, सो पीपल आर नॉट गोइंग. अब उसको पता है कि हमारे बच्चे को खाना नहीं मिलेगा, तो भूख से मरने से तो अच्छा है ना किसी चाय वाली दुकान पे वो जिंदा रह जाए. Getting my point? So things becomes very, very subjective, and that's how you can integrate. And when you integrate, for example, if you're talking about child labor, you should not project or present the opinion what has been heard by you from someone. Or maybe just you have heard one-sided opinion from media. Then you are simply presenting someone else's idea in toto as it is. That means you don't have the capacity to filter it. The moment it is reflected, your marks will be less. So first topic is perspective in human geography. In human geography, we'll be dealing it with tomorrow. Your task is to think over what is the difference in perspective in and perspective of human geography.